All right, so since you guys took a test on Friday, that means we are starting chapter 5 today. As I'm sure many of you have heard by now, I will be out all week long. So you're going to get to hear my lovely voice on a lot of videos. I'll have you submit all your work on LMS just so I can get your completion grades in. Email me throughout the day with questions. I'll get back to you as quick as I can. But you guys should be A-okay. Right, so chapter 5, we're going to take a mini break from trig. We're going to go back to talking about functions and its notation and interval notation, because later in the week we're going to pick back up with trig, but we're going to talk about graphing. And we just want to make sure we have a good understanding of functions first. Right, so functions, right, typically are in the form f of x, g of x. They mean the same thing as y. So if you say like y equals something, you could also say f of x equals something, right? So sometimes you have more variables, you'll use f of x comma y, right? And so if we look at our example, if f of xy equals x squared plus y squared minus xy, find f of 2, 3, and so on, right? So this just means that we're going to plug 2 in for x, 3 in for y, and find a number, right? So let's do that, right? So we have you have 2 squared plus 3 squared minus 2 times 3. So you get 4 plus 9 minus 6, which equals 7. All right, so plugging in the numbers is fairly straightforward. I do want to jump ahead to this example where they plug in z minus 2 and w minus 3. Right, so you can plug in expressions and other variables in for x and y. Right, so let's do that. So z minus 2 is going in for x. Remember, I will always put lines in my z's so they don't look like 2's. Right, plus w minus 3 squared minus z minus 2 times w minus 3. All right, so we're foiling, right? You can't just square both of those. We have to do z minus 2 times z minus 2. Okay, I'm going to FOIL out the first one, but from there I will take a shortcut. So you get z squared. Oh, sorry, that's the same thing. Minus 2z minus another 2z plus 4. So that becomes z squared minus 4z plus 4. So a nice shortcut for that is you can do, it's your first one squared, 2 times z times 2, 4z, 2 squared is 4. That'll work every time. So like, I'm going to use that shortcut here to square my w minus 3. Like I said, you can always write it out in FOIL, that's fine. But it's going to be w squared minus 6w plus 9. All right, and then we'll FOIL these two together. So you get wz minus 3z minus 2w plus 6. All right, so remember that we are subtracting all of this, right? So all of these signs are going to change, right? I'm going to do that before we start trying to combine any like terms. So it becomes a minus wz, a plus 3z, a plus 2w, and a minus 6. Now I'm just going to bring everything else down. Oh no. Okay, so now we can combine like terms. So we have a 4z and a 3z. We have 4, 9, -6. We have -6w and 2w. And then everything else will just kind of bring down. So z squared, w squared, wz. So then -4 and 3z is a plus z. That takes care of that. We got that and that and that already. -6 and 2 is a -4. And then 4, 9, and -6 is a 7. So then that would be your final answer. So yeah, it's a little bit of algebra work. It's good practice. Right, so really, that's as much as there is to this one. All right, it's fairly straightforward. The other thing I do want to talk about really quick is interval notation. All right, so basically, we can rewrite inequalities as intervals. So if they're both or equal to's, right, you can use brackets, and that's a closed interval. If they don't have the equal to, so just less than, they're parentheses, so that's open. If you have one of each, it's half open. Right, infinities always have to be open with parentheses. Infinity can never be a closed interval because there's no set value for infinity. So if they are numbers, but you've got one of each, that's just a bounded interval. And if you just have x is less than 2, then you know that it's going from -infinity to 2. That's an unbounded interval. Right, so basically if it has the equal to, it's a bracket. If it doesn't, it's a parenthesis. Alright, so some of these are going to take you guys a while. But on page 72, I want you to do 1 through 4, 6 through 8, and 11 through 16. On 11 through 16, don't graph it. Just if it's in an interval, write it as an inequality. If it's an inequality, write it as an interval. You guys can work on this today and tomorrow. It needs submitted on LMS by the beginning of class time on Wednesday to get full credit, okay? So Wednesday's video, I will go over some of those answers with you. And then we will move on from there. All right, so work on this today, not for homework tonight. You can have class time tomorrow to finish it up. Help each other out. That means help each other, not one person do one problem, right? And everybody just take one note. All of you need to do your own work, but please help each other out. All right, email me if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys next week.